everyone. We have the guest with us. A very good morning to one and all present here. I feel immense pleasure and extremely honored to introduce our very own guest, Ms. Shweta Kothari ma'am, to the budding journalists of BVICAM. Ms. Shweta Kothari is a journalist and a news presenter with TV9 network. She was the India output editor at Scene, a global media firm till recently. Shweta ma'am has previously worked with renowned media organizations like CNBC, TV18, NDTV, and NewsX. She holds a master's degree in journalism from the University of Sussex, UK. I could go on forever to list her achievements in the field, but first it's time to welcome our guest with a bouquet. I request BVICAM ma'am to present the bouquet to Shweta ma'am. Now, without taking much time, I would like to invite our expert speaker, Shweta Kothari ma'am, to please address the House. I'm sure her expertise will enlighten young minds today. Please, ma'am.
Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for taking time out this early in the morning, and welcome. You are the brand new batch of BJMC here in Bharatiya Vidyapeeth. I've had the honor and the pleasure of teaching your younger batch, which is your first batch. I was a regular faculty back then because we were all teaching and working from home. And now that we've all gone back to being physically here, I can't be here because I also work full time. But nonetheless, it is always a pleasure to speak to a new batch. Every incoming batch means there's a lot more hope and bright light at the end of tunnel for journalism per se. Now, none of what ma'am said are achievement was, it's all got to do with the fact that I'm still a journalist, and many people who started out with me are not journalists anymore. Reason being that when we start out, I remember being there, not very far along, about 15 years ago. A lot of us were very hopeful, and then suddenly we weren't, because we were woken up to the realities of journalism. It's not easy, it's difficult, it's painstaking, there's very little money, there's very little rest, and sometimes no recognition, right? So after getting our degrees, I studied in Delhi University. All of us who were journalistic aspirants, some of us tried continuing, but many of us eventually gave up. That's not why I'm here. I'm not here to discourage you. In fact, I'm here to do the opposite. I'm here to encourage you to be journalists. I'm here to encourage you to pursue truth, to pursue your dreams, to continue on the path of servicing the nation. Now, with a show of hands, please, how many of you actually want to get into journalism and not PR? Actual journalism. Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it? Journalism? 6? No? That's that? One more time. How many of you actually want to pursue journalism? Show of hands? Okay, that's very few of you. Okay, one more addition. I'm hoping that by the end of this session, I can actually pursue quite a few of you to look into journalism as a serious profession. And why do you want to be a journalist? Before we get forward, why do you want to be a journalist? Okay.
But I just like, whenever I'm writing or something like poems or any paragraph in the Indians as a journalist, तो it basically just I am very well कि ठीक है इसको हम ऐसे लिख लेंगे, इसको हम ऐसे तरीके से लिखेंगे कि बहुत ज़्यादा लोग हैं इससे अट्रैक्ट होकर उसको पढ़ेंगे और उसके बारे में सीखेंगे.
Okay.
That's why.
So you want to put your word out there for the public. Anybody else who raised their hands? Yes.
Hi ma'am, good
Hi,
morning.
good morning.
I want to go into travel media, so I
Okay.
want to explore the world of journalism and be on the camera.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's a good fascination to have. Anybody else? Why do you guys want to be? Yes. हाँ जी बोलिए. Okay. Good answers. So far, so good. You want to put your word out there. You want to be heard. You want to make a change. You want to be in front of the camera, although that should not be the pursuit. The pursuit should be to put yourself out there, to make people know something they don't know. Right? That should be the pursuit. The pursuit should be to make people know something they don't know. Also, it's a wonderful form of public service. Every day of your life is dedicated towards public service. And when I say public service, you're working for people. You're affecting their lives more than you would like to. What you say has an impact on people's perception, their identity, and can also affect their lives, right? But if you do decide to be a journalist, then I would urge you to be a journalist who seeks truth and is impartial in their approach. And why is that? That is because one of the foundations of journalism is trying to keep democracy alive. One of the foundations of journalism is trying to keep democracy alive. Now, public service in pursuit of keeping democracy alive. And how do you really do that? You empower citizens. You empower citizens by giving them information that they don't have easy access to, can't understand, and sometimes difficult to access, right? So, as journalists of tomorrow, you will literally be informing people and their choices, who they vote for. Why should they like someone? Why should they not like someone? What is the problem with Vinesh Phogat weighing 100 grams more? What are the rules? What do the rules say? Who's to blame? Where does the responsibility lie? You know, as people, as observers, you have lots of questions. As journalists, you get to answer those questions. As journalists, you actually get to answer those questions and inform people's choices, their opinion, and be able to make this democracy better. How? Because every time you ask a question, there is somebody who is influenced by your answer. Every time you're able to detail, get people their interviews, go out on the ground, report, be it Olympics, be it national sports somewhere, you're able to actually give people answers to a lot of questions that they will not have access to easily, right? So why should you do it? Because it's public service and it's fundamental to the democracy of this country. A lot of us are passive aggressive in the way we see news. We look at something and we're angry, right? I'm sure all of you are. A lot of you must be very angry when you read the news, when you see something wrong happening, when you see 3 students dying in the basement of the Rao's IS Academy, you're angry, right? You're angry because something's happened. You don't expect an institution to not protect students' lives. But then you go a step more. When you become a journalist, you actually get to understand and identify similar such institutions which have potential to threaten students' life. Right? And so why should you be journalists? Because you really can save lives. Now, I'm sure all of you are aware of what I'm talking about, right? Rao's IS Academy, 3 students who died. It could be anybody. It could be you, it could be me, it could be our siblings. Right? And the fact that such an incident can happen in the national capital, not very far from here, with little to no accountability of who is responsible, that SUV driver who was just driving on the road and perhaps that resulted in more water underflowing into that basement? Or is it the MCD? Is it the authority? As journalists, you get to ask those questions. And when you ask those questions, you hold someone accountable. You get the right people in power. And when you get right people in power, you avert such instances, right? So why should you be journalists? Not just because it's public service, you're helping people out of courtesy, also because you are really affecting people, their lives. You're informing their decision. Next time, go and report such incident in various other institutions in that surrounding area where there's not just one academy, there are lots of such academies which blatantly violate law. When you report on them, there's action on them. When there's action on them, preemptive action on them, you're able to save lives before they are lost, right? So be truthful, be impartial, but also know that good journalism is foundation of democracy. Now, there's another reason why you should seek perhaps impartiality, and that is because you're building public trust. One of the problems of this generation, which wasn't a problem when I became a journalist early on, was that there is an onslaught of fake news. So in my time, there's no concept of a fact checker. When I became a journalist, there was no concept of a fact checker, merely because there wasn't enough fake news. And every time there was fake news, you would have newspapers coming out with a corrigendum. Right? Apologies, this was not right, and we would like to correct that information. And even TV would apologize sometimes through a small ticker, samajhte hain aap log? Something at the bottom of the TV. So TV would apologize and course correct through ticker, and newspapers would issue corrigendum. Suddenly, early 2010, about 14 years ago, and since then, there's been an onslaught of fake news. And when I say onslaught, I mean at a speed and a pace unthinkable about 20 years ago. Why? Because there was medium. There was no dearth of fake news. There was no dearth of, hate mongers. There was no dearth of rumor machines earlier. But there was no mechanism to reach and to make sure it reaches every person standing at a speed that it does today. Right? And initially it was laughable. Initially it was laughable because these were memes. So these were Manmohan Singh memes, these were Rahul Gandhi memes, and you would laugh at it, and Alu ko sona bana dunga, and all of that was laughable. But then suddenly it wasn't laughable anymore because people were getting killed. Because there was a rumor in a certain area that there are kidnappers here. And those people look like kidnappers, so let's start beating them up. Or somebody is, someone's transporting cows to kill them, so let's beat them up. And so suddenly, about 10 years ago, there is a new form of journalism that emerged for a lot of people, and that was fact-checking, which today is an important stronghold of journalism. So, tackling misinformation, disinformation as a fact-checker allows you, as a potential journalist, to be able to cater to narratives that are false. They're not laughable. They should not just be passed on as things that, you don't have to pay attention to. एक minority group की आबादी बढ़ रही है. कुछ लोग जो ऐसे दिखते हैं, जो शायद कोई कैप पहनते हैं, वो लोग मारने के लिए आ रहे हैं. All these things, we often ignore in our own public groups, society groups, family groups. I'm part of many of them. We often ignore them because we think, okay, who will fight the world? Why should you fight the world, right? But remember, every time we ignore them, they manifest. They become bigger. They rage on. They allow someone to kill someone in anger. And a lot of you must have watched debates, right? News debates. Times Now, Republic, देखते हैं? कोई देखता है? हाथ उठा के बताएंगे? Show of hands, please. Right? And do you get angry when you see people fighting one another? Does that enrage you when you see two people fighting one another? Yeah? Because that's exactly what it's meant to do. It's just meant to make you angry. Unfortunately, there's not much real journalism in that. Right? You don't allow someone to speak, you allow someone to go on and abuse. There's not enough journalism and not more journalism in that than there should be. So, the idea is to entertain you, to make you angry, and some of these people will go back home together and shake hands and have a meal, and you'll still be loathing and being seething in anger, right? So, that kind of journalism, girls, hi, can you hear me there on the backside? Can you all hear me? Loud and clear? Okay. So, I don't know if you heard me, but I was asking how many of you really watch debates on Times Now, Republic. If you do, does it make you angry? If it does, remember their job is solved because their job is to make you angry, because when you're angry, you'll watch more. It's pure voyeurism. You like people fighting, just like you like JCBs on the road digging earth, even if nothing comes out of it, right? It's pure voyeurism. You like something that may be uncovered towards the end. Nothing is uncovered. People are just abusing one another. Their job is served because you give them a TRP. If you keep watching, continue watching, their job is done. That's what they wanted you to do. They wanted you to watch, not gain anything out of it, right? So this is another debate for another day, and hopefully I'll come back later sometime to tell you perils of TV journalism, because I've been a TV journalist now for 11 years, so it's difficult to achieve balance between doing right journalism versus getting eyeballs, because if you don't have enough audience, there's no point of you doing right journalism. But at the same time, eyeballs at what cost? Right? So classic case of chicken and egg. Anyway, so as a journalist who seeks truth and impartiality, you are also, for that matter, making foundations of a democracy strong. You are building public trust. You are battling misinformation. Another thing that you're doing is you're ensuring accountability, such as I mentioned in case of Rao's IS Academy. Or it could be anything. It could be Bengaluru potholes. I mean, how many of you been to Bengaluru? Bengaluru? Traffic is a problem? Major problem? Potholes is a problem? Right? Does government do anything about it? Doesn't look like. Because if you were to finally one day decide, wake up, आज मैं सारे potholes भर दूंगा, सरकार है, power है, पैसा है, how much does it take? Do you know how many people die? How many people die in potholes? A lot. Let's not go into the number. A lot of people die just trying to cross the potholes. On their way to school, on their way to work, on their way to colleges, people like you and me, common people of the country, right? For some reason, still, the government could not and has not been able to fill those potholes. So, lack of accountability, and that is where you guys come into picture. Setting accountability. Right? Setting accountability as to where it should lie. Who is accountable for the fact that people are still dying, trying to go to their place of work, trying to go to their place of study? And not just that, institutions blatantly violating building laws. Vivek Vihar, a children's hospital, catches fire, 8 babies die. Who's responsible? Right? So, if you have any inkling trying to hold those in power responsible, this is the right profession for you. This is why you should be journalists. As I said, by the end of this class, my endeavor would be that more hands are raised, more people are encouraged at least to pursue journalism. Now, one of the fears, of course, is that every time you try and hold somebody accountable, there is the constant fear that they may not like it. And which is, I'm sure, a lot of women especially face this, where their parents are not very happy with them being journalists or reporters, right? I have interacted with some of your seniors where a lot of girls came up to me and said, our parents are not very happy with us becoming reporters or journalists, because they believe that there's a lot of fear, and then there is a lot of threat, and it gets very difficult. And some of it is true, not all of it is true, but some of it is true. As women specifically, and since majority of you are women, remember, every time you do a story tomorrow, every time you decide to open your mouth, you are susceptible to more hatred, more judgment, more vile comments than your male counterpart. You'll be called names, you'll be threatened. Most of these threats are meaningless, they're empty. Right? But enough to deter you. Empty, but enough to deter you to not do what you're doing. Right? Because we're all concerned about our well-being, but more importantly, more than ours, our siblings, our parents, our near and dear ones. That's just a bottle. That's just what I'm still talking. Okay, so as girls, as women, as people who are perceived to be easily affected, not so much easily affected. I think we're only concerned about people around us more than our own selves. It becomes difficult to continue pursuing journalism and hold people in power accountable. But remember, we've come very far, guys. How many years since we got independence? Huh? 60 mat bolna, please. Huh? 70? Okay, 78th? Is that right answer? 78th year. It is the 78th year. Things have changed. I mean, this country anyway always protected women more, and I would like to believe more than Western countries. At least not at least in a way where we were never under threat directly. Our rights were never under threat, right? We may be under threat when walking on the road, but our rights were never under threat. US is still struggling to allow women to have a right to choice when it comes to having a kid or not having a kid, right? So we're very far from that. And I don't want to compare ourselves to other countries which are abysmal when it comes to their record on women. But I can assure you that living in this country still gives you a lot of rights. You're protected. And as a working journalist who has been threatened, who has been abused on social media platforms, I can assure you that most of these threats are empty. So if it doesn't move you, if it doesn't scare you easy, then believe me, none of them will come to fruition. Nobody is going to act on it. These are usually people who are sitting on the other side of an internet or a computer and just writing things that they don't understand, and in most cases just trying to hurt you with their words. So while it's more difficult to be a woman journalist, girls, hi, it's difficult to be a woman journalist. At the same time, if you wish to, and if you're strong to take it, and if you can give it back, and if you can pursue things legally, there is no reason why you should not do as much, if not more, than your male counterparts, right? Also, when you move up the ladder, guys, you'll realize that the pipeline starts thinning out. There are very few serious women journalists compared to men. That's also because of your biological duties, your household responsibilities, and that's where I think the entire game changes, but more on that sometime later. So let's go back to other things that you do as a journalist. Prevent social division. What is social division? Anybody? Social division? When I say prevent social division, kya hai? Hanji. Exactly. Religion, caste, creeds, sexes, right? Race, right? As journalists, we were supposed to prevent social division. That's your job. Have we done it? Do you think journalists today have tried to bridge social division between caste, religion, race? I think we have failed abysmally. I think we do more Hindu-Muslim today than we used to about 30 years ago, 30 or 40 years ago. There were bigger things to fight. There were bigger issues to talk about, right? So unfortunately today, what we are doing is the opposite of what was expected. And I have a lot of hope from you, the new generation journalists, the new crop of journalists. You will be away from your biases every time you report on a story, a riot story. A story of two religious groups fighting each other, two castes fighting each other, where religion comes into play, where religion does not come into play, where religion has nothing to do with the crime that was committed, right? So, as potential journalists of tomorrow, I pray and I wish that you guys do your duty more diligently than we did, right? When you are the change makers, when you are the people who will be deciding on what narrative the country should follow, I'm hoping that you guys will do more fairly and squarely evaluate the situation you are in. And there will be compulsions. There will be cost compulsions. There will be compulsions with respect to who your bosses are. And every day, for that matter, every time you're reporting on a story. So I'll take you back to 2017, of a story that I reported on. It was on cow smuggling, right? A crime in this country? Cow smuggling? Yeah? Cow smuggling for slaughter, crime in this country? As per, initially it was as a part of our directive principles, then later on it became a law. So I went to a UP border. I got some sources telling me कि अगर आप यहाँ इस जगह यूपी बॉर्डर में जाएंगे तो आपको कुछ ग्रुप ऑफ विजिलेंटीज मिलेंगे जो रोज़ हर गाड़ी को रोक के देखते हैं कि इसमें गाय हैं कितनी हैं, फिर उसके बाद उसका पर्ची देखते हैं कि कहाँ जा रही हैं, ये स्लॉटर के लिए तो नहीं जा रही हैं, और अगर उनको मिल गया कि ये स्लॉटर के लिए जा रहे हैं तो उसके बाद पीटते हैं लोगों को. सो आई वॉन्टेड टू, दिस वॉज एट द पीक ऑफ काउ विजिलेंटिज्म. आई वॉज वर्किंग इन रिपब्लिक that time, and I did a story. And guess what? With a spy camera, in 2017, with a spy camera, I managed to infiltrate one of this gang which was on streets late in the night. And I see a UP police official coming and shaking hands with them. These are vigilantes. What are vigilantes? Anybody? Vigilantes कौन होते हैं? हाँ हाँ जी, तेज बोलिएगा थोड़ा. हाँ जी, ठीक है. मतलब वो, उनको कोई अथॉरिटी नहीं है, उनको कोई पावर नहीं है, बट दे थिंक दैट दे विल reinstate law. Those are vigilantes, right? They were standing on the road and they were actually stopping vehicles. They had these big lathis, and I was a lone reporter and had a spy camera in my hand. And they were standing on the road, they had these big lathis and they were stopping vehicles. And then suddenly a policeman passes by and they shake hands. What does that tell you? That they are together, that they have the blessing of the police machinery, right? The police machinery is allowing for it to happen. And sometime later, in an hour or so, they also told me as to the number of people they've beaten up, their modus operandi. Foolishly so, start telling it all on the camera. They don't know I'm carrying a camera because it's a spy camera. So it's a spy camera on a phone, जिसके front पे camera है. Camera usually आगे और पीछे होता है, जिसके front पे camera. So it can record a straight vision like this. As opposed to you having to tilt it front or back, it can record from the front, right? And when I started talking to the police officer, I think he realized, because he told me, give me your phone. And young woman in UP streets, nobody knows where I am. Here I am talking to people who might as well just kill me and I will never be found again. I still did it. I told him, this is the phone, there's nothing on the phone. And I got away with it. And I had it all on a camera. So if you were in my place, what would you expect? Next thing. हाँ जी. हाँ जी, बिल्कुल बता देते हैं. क्योंकि मैं जो अंडर कवर मैं गई थी, मैं ये गई थी कि मैं आपके ऊपर पॉजिटिव स्टोरी करना चाह रही हूँ कि क्या ऐसे आप गाय को कैसे प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, अपना कर्तव्य कैसे निभा रहे हैं. बताता क्योंकि मैं अंडर कवर थी और मेरे साथ और कोई नहीं था. मतलब जेंडर मैटर नहीं करता वहाँ पे. अगर आप फ्रेंडली होके कन्वर्स कर रहे हैं तो इन्वेस्टिगेटिव स्टोरीज ज़्यादातर आदमी ही करते हैं, महिलाएं कम कर पाती हैं. देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ सिक्योरिटी रिस्क, राइट, विद बीइंग अ वुमन एंड बीइंग इन सच पोजीशंस अलोन. पता नहीं, इतना नहीं बताया मुझे, पर ये ज़रूर बताया कि लोगों को रोकते थे, उनको मारते थे, उनको उसके बाद हॉस्पिटल, अगर वो बचते थे तो हॉस्पिटल ले जाते थे, बट कभी एक्शन नहीं लिया गया. ये बताया. वो आज भी सड़क पे खड़े, यानी एक्शन नहीं लिया गया, राइट. बट व्हाट वुड यू एक्सपेक्ट? नाउ आई हैव एवरीथिंग रिकॉर्डेड. अगर आप मेरी जगह होते क्या एक्सपेक्ट करते? एनीबडी? व्हाट वुड यू एक्सपेक्ट? आई हैव दिस रिकॉर्डिंग. It's eye-opening. It's UP border, Delhi UP border, literally. There is a group of vigilantes in cahoots with the police, beating people up. To show people, right? My expectation was I will go to office and there's going to be a big story about it. Unfortunately, because I was working for Republic and they have a certain own political agenda, it never saw the light of the day. As a reporter, I felt destroyed, disheartened. I risked my life to be there, right? But it never saw the light of day. Because, again, as I said, there's a certain political agenda at play with every organization. I'm not naming one because that one is problematic. There are lots of problematic organizations, right? And a lot of them problematic in their own way. But one of the things expected out of you is that while you're holding people accountable, you're going to put yourself in position of distress, and sometimes that position of distress is still not going to yield anything positive. There'll be no greater returns. You don't just leave journalism. You still try and do it. So you still try and pursue journalism, right? Because this is just one story of the hundreds and thousands of stories I've done. So this never saw the light of the day, but here I am talking to you people about it, and hopefully you'll talk to more people about what you will do. So we'll build on that. Every story that saw the light of the day and every story that did not see the light of the day is an important story that you will be telling. So as journalists, you hold people in power accountable. You also ensure that there is an informed citizenry, right? Informed citizenry that knows about everything that is going on. So a NEET PG exam or a NEET UG exam or your own exam. Which was your exam? Are you guys angry with what happened at CUET? Can someone tell me why they're angry? Show of hands. Hanji. Why not? Yes.
It took them 3 months to give the result, which was very much delayed. And because of that, the students who had this dream of going into a very good government university had to give it up. And because of that, 75% of the students have already taken admissions in deemed universities or private universities, which is not very good. I believe in this. And now they are saying for like Delhi University, they are telling them that the seat should be full because of the CUET, the seats are not puri nahi ho rahi hai.
How many of you are angry with what's happened with NTA? Not just CUET, NEET, PG, UG. Show of hands. How many of you are angry? I see a majority of you are angry, right? A majority of you are angry because you expect in a country 75 years since independence, we can't conduct exams properly. We have an authority that is incompetent in releasing exam results. We have an authority which I think in the best of my understanding is corrupt, incompetent, right? It affects you, it affects me. What do you do about it? Believe me, when I say a majority of students can do very little except for taking NTA to court, which is what UG students have done. The NEET UG students have done, right? MBBS UG students ne kya kiya, wo court chale gaye. Not a lot of you can go to court. I know for a fact you can't because we're all students. We don't want to go and knock on various doors. We just want to study. We want to get admission in the best college possible. But as potential journalists, prospective journalists, you have the authority, the right, and the medium to talk about it. To talk about it, to write about it, to make videos about it, to make your voice be heard. And why should you do that? You should do that so that more potential students tomorrow, like you, your brothers, sisters, colleagues, former classmates, don't suffer the same fate that you have, right? Because it's unfair. It's pure unfair for you to believe that you deserve a better college or a better university, but you can't get it or you were not able to get it because NTA was unfair. So, to make citizenry informed, to give them a choice to ask questions so that citizens can ask questions, and when they ask questions, things change. We know what's happening in Bangladesh right now, don't we? Anybody who knows what's happening in Bangladesh right now? Yes.
For getting the SCN, like reservation category, SCN ST is getting 50% reservation and 50%
Absolutely. So it was basically anti-jobs quota, anti-reservation in jobs, right? Anti-quota protest. What did students want? Fair chance. I want a fair chance in every time I'm applying for a job. I want people around me to be treated equal, if not less, when applying for that job. And the government, it's their duty to ensure that I'm treated equally because I have equality in this country. But apparently that wasn't the case in Bangladesh. Bangladeshi government, the former Awami League government headed by Sheikh Hasina, decided that we'll give 50% of the jobs quota to freedom fighters, their children and their grandchildren. So people who fought for their independence in Bangladesh. Students were angry. In 2008, that decision was reversed because students like you guys were very angry in Bangladesh. But Supreme Court brought it back. As a result, they say, what can students really do? Often they say, what can students really do? Do you know what students can really do? They can change regime. That is exactly what happened in Bangladesh. आप क्या ही कर सकते हैं? You can change regimes. In this case, you don't have to because we are already a democracy. We are no Bangladesh. So you don't have, some big reason to fight the government. But whatever you do, these are important reasons. These are important reasons. Your right to choice, your right to decide the college you want to go, your right to be safe in the institution that you're studying in, your right to walk on the road without being molested, harassed, all these are important reasons. Even if you don't have to fight the government, you can definitely fight them on these issues. Right? We are no Bangladesh, we are a democracy. We vote our government. But if you're unhappy with certain aspects of the government, you inform people. You have that power. As journalists, you'll be taught how to. So you inform people and they make a change. You ensure accountability. You ensure that there is no social division. You also ensure that you are able to counter propaganda. What is propaganda? Who are Nazis? 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 Okay, yes, Hitler. Nazis? Who are Nazis? Anybody? Have we read about Nazi Germany? Hitler? What was the problem with Hitler? Okay, but that's not all, right? He was a dictator, lots of dictators. And Hanji. Jews. Thank you. Hatred against a particular set of people, a particular community. Who were these people? Jews. Jews. What did he do? Why do you think whole of Germany was okay when he was killing Jews? Can someone give a mic here, please? A mic?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Because when I read in history, I just understood that Germany first started the war against the Jews, Nazi people, and then when Hitler became the what should I say, captain of the Nazis, he reciprocated the war because he was angry, I guess.
Okay, but why kill his own citizens? I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Anybody? What did Hitler do? Yes. Mic coming to you.
He actually killed Jews because he thought Germany lost the First World War because of those people.
His own citizens, his own country. Okay, why do you think people supported him while he killed Jews?
Because he has brainwashed most of the German
Thank you.
population.
He had brainwashed most of these people. Brainwashed them into thinking that they are evil. We are good, they are evil. The classic propaganda of we are good, they are evil. Who are they? Yes.
कि जीसस क्राइस्ट उनकी वजह से मरे थे, ज्यूस की वजह से, ऐसी भी कोई.
Okay, so there were religious reasons, there were cultural reasons, there were reasons with which were unexplained, your hatred for a particular community that can never be explained, right? That usually stems from the fact, ये लोग ऐसे करते हैं, ये लोग ऐसे खाते हैं, ये लोग ऐसे रहते हैं, इन लोगों के इतने बच्चे होते हैं, ये लोग दिखते ऐसे हैं. In case of typical Nazi Germany, इनकी नाक ऐसी है, ठीक है? They accumulate power and they will destroy you, they will destroy your country, they will take over your country. These narratives about population explosion, this country will be finished. A lot of this hatred, and I'm thankful that there's never been a Nazi Germany again. Hopefully there never will be a Nazi Germany again. Why? Because there is enough and more to learn from history on how to counter propaganda. What is propaganda? Propaganda is something that is being instilled in you without any proof or merit. Trying to grow seeds of hatred in you against somebody or something without proof or merit. Trying to tell you someone is taking over, banking on your fear, ensuring that your fear takes better of you. Right? So when your fear starts taking better of you, you start treating someone as your enemy, even when they're not. Even then, when they are your citizens, your fellow citizens, which is what happened in Nazi Germany, which is exactly what you guys are, I am hopeful you will do. You will counter that propaganda tomorrow as journalists, and it's your duty to do that. It's your duty to, every time you see a hateful conversation anywhere, in a group, in a conversation, in a simple, offhand remark about someone being a Dalit, offhand remark about someone's caste, offhand remark about someone's religion, it's your duty to counter that. Because remember, when this propaganda becomes bigger, when these conversations become more intense, we fall into a position which I hope we never do. Because in this country, I think we are way more stronger than that. And we are way more conscientious than that. We respect diversity, which is the core of this, cornerstone of this democracy, cornerstone of this country, exactly what we've got to be proud about. I keep asking this question to a lot of people, what exactly are you proud about? You say, be proud of being an Indian. What are you proud about? Anybody, what are you proud about? When you say you should be proud of being an Indian, what are you proud about? Infrastructure, a lot of country has better infrastructure than we do. What are you proud about? Values, culture, diversity, variety, the respect for that diversity, because then when that is gone, there's very little to be proud about. That is what you should be proud about. Today, tomorrow, and as future journalists, ensure that those values, that culture of respect for fellow citizens, for communities, that is way stronger than your dislike or what is being taught to you through people, through communities, through sometimes parenting. We've had this, and I think it's important to have this conversation. All of us are also a sum of what we've been taught, not just in schools and colleges, but at homes and in our societies. A lot of it is unconscious. We all have some unconscious bias. The problem with journalism is when that unconscious bias starts seeping into your work, into your conduct. Your dislike for somebody, your dislike for a political party, and any political party starts seeping into your journalism. That becomes problem. That becomes a major problem, because then you're no more truthful, you're no more impartial. And I hope to God, all of you tomorrow, before I finally close this lecture, and I hope to God that all of you tomorrow will be better than us. Because we failed. Let me admit that we failed in a lot of ways. We were the brand of journalists who were labeled as Godi media, lapdogs. We were the brand of journalists who allowed hate to fester. We were the brand of journalists who got away with not doing enough, with not doing our duty. And I hope to God, all of you tomorrow will do better than what we did. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, it was an amazing session.
Any questions at all? Please, any questions? Very happy to take questions.
Make it an interactive session. Ma'am would be very happy to answer it. Please.
Can we pass the mic here?
Please, mic it up.
Ma'am, like this is a very basic question, but
Yes.
like as a journalist, you have you did very much news, like बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ करी होंगी आपने लिखा होगा, तो उसके अंदर आप फेक न्यूज़ की ऑब्जेक्टिविटी एंड इंटीग्रिटी को आप कैसे उसको लाई करते हैं एक तरीके से, लाइक जो ऑब्जेक्टिविटी होती है इंटीग्रिटी होती है एक न्यूज़ की, तो क्योंकि बहुत सारे टीवी चैनल्स ऐसे होते हैं कि न्यूज़ आई फैक्ट चेक के बिना उसको डाल देते हैं फॉर द शोज, लेकिन आप उसको लाइक कैसे डिफ्रेंशिएट करते हैं उससे?
So, confirmation from two sources at least. Every time a news break, you must confirm it from two sources at least. So, two source formula. And until you have a double confirmation, try not to break anything. Don't break information just because your fellow peers are saying, ऐसा हो गया तो हाँ ऐसा हो गया होगा. नहीं. They are saying they may be wrong, they may have heard it from someone. Problem with news is like information, right? News is information. And information spreads like wildfire. It may be true, it may not be true, but if one person says it, 10 more people are going to say it. Try not to perpetuate a lie just because everybody believes in it. सब अगर विश्वास करेंगे तो झूठ सच थोड़ी ना हो जाएगा. झूठ तो झूठ ही रहेगा, right? So as journalists, more than any other profession, it's your duty to get a double confirmation before you propagate any information. I hope that answers your question.
Ma'am, my name is Janvi and I want to ask that what will be the impact of AI on media?
Very, very pertinent, good question. Thank you, Janvi. AI is going to change media. Sorry guys, anything funny? No? Let's not. I mean, I don't think we should be laughing at a question if that is what we're doing. Let's be more kind towards each other, right? AI is going to change the way media operates today. It's going to change the way you will become journalists of tomorrow. So writing can be done by AI. You can just feed a question into GPT, it will answer that question for you. Today there are AI modulated anchors, so वो anchoring भी कर सकते हैं. What they can't do is make news human. Unfortunately, AI cannot make news human. So while it will take a lot of jobs away, of writers, content creators, even news anchors, it will not take the jobs of news reporters away, because you are the people who will still have to go on ground and talk to 10 more people and then get news out. AI can't do that. You can feed information into AI, it will refine it for you, right? It will refine it for you, it will give you a news article, but it will never be able to go out on ground and report. It will never be able to get a human angle out. वो एक human angle होता है ना story पे, when you start with a person's story, a people's story, that it will not be able to do in the near future, is my understanding. So brace yourself for drastic changes in your profession. So even if you're going to PR, I'm assuming a lot of you people will go into events and PR. जिन्होंने हाथ नहीं उठाया, those who did not want to do journalism will go do communications, will do PR. All of it can be done. Press releases can be written by AI, right? So using AI as an effective tool is extremely important in everything you do. I don't think institutions should no more disallow students from using AI. I believe institutions should allow students for using AI. They should allow for students to effectively use AI, learn how to give right prompts, right? That will be it'll be a big game changer for you. Thank you, Janvi. Yes.
Good morning, ma'am.
No, go ahead.
My question is not specific towards journalism. My question is like हर एक field में high points and low points होते हैं. जैसे आप ही ने कहा कि जब आपने वो story की, that was not broadcasted in Republic TV, तो आप कैसे cope up करते हैं? Like आप obviously you stood up again, तो लेकिन at that point आपको थोड़ा तो feel हुआ होगा कि like why I'm doing this.
Absolutely.
तो आपका personal experience क्या है? Like how do you cope up with such things?
See, you have to be more resilient than a lot of people, right? You have to be, as a journalist, I can tell you I'm very resilient, very resilient. I can take conflict and I will not react on the face of it. I can take a lot of anger from someone and not react. Dissatisfaction, I will not react. Disappointment, which is what happens, right? I will not react. Journalism teaches you to be resilient. 5 sources से बात करोगे, 6 sources से बात करोगे, सब deny कर देंगे, nobody will help you to do a story, right? You want to do a story, you talk to 5, 6, 7, 8 people, everybody will deny, you'll give up. That's exactly where you're not supposed to give up, because then your 8th or 9th person may respond. So as journalists, you are expected to be way, way more resilient than a lot of people. The idea of never giving up, I will not give up, I'm an eternal optimistic, that has kept me personally going. That I'm going to just carry on, right? 30 rejection, I'll still try 31st time.
So you left Republic just because of that reason?
No, I left because of the fact that I did not agree with their journalism.
Okay, thank you.
Hanji.
गुड मॉर्निंग मैम,
Good
माय
morning.
नेम इज़ कृति. मैम आई वांटेड टू नो कि लाइक अब जैसे सोशल मीडिया है या हमारे पास फ़ोन्स आ गए हैं, तो हमें मोस्टली न्यूज़ वहीं पे मिल जाती है, तो वो टेलीविज़न पे उसका इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा या पड़ रहा है कुछ?
बिल्कुल पढ़ रहा है, टेलीविजन पे बिल्कुल पढ़ रहा है. कृति.
या
हाँ कृति, बिल्कुल पढ़ रहा है. To the point where everybody wants to be social first, right? So as TV journalists, we are told to be social media first. YouTube friendly, Facebook friendly, every place that can give us any revenue. So you've got to be social media first on everything, Instagram, right? So we have adapted in ways where we do not value on air time as much as we value what's going to go on YouTube, what's going to go on social media. We have effectively changed and tweaked our formats. We have changed them to suit social media first. So as journalists who are born in the social media age, I still do. How many of you use Snapchat? Snapchat. Oh my God, all of you use Snapchat. Okay, see, I don't use Snapchat. So I don't use Snapchat. I'm not of the generation who never found any utility in using Snapchat, but all of you use. What does that mean? That's your next source of avenue to be a journalist. Putting out stories on Snapchat, putting out stories which reach out to more young people like you. That's your avenue. So I think that answers your question. Basically, it's going to be social media first today.
ओके, थैंक यू
Right?
मैम.
Hi ma'am, my name is Yeshu. So
Yeshu.
Yeshu. So ma'am, my question is that how much an editor in this industry can earn?
How much? There is no limit to it.
Ma'am, I have heard from a lot of people that there is no scope as an editor in news media. It is
Video editor?
no, as an editor. Yeah, you can.
No.
Ma'am,
there's-
in newspaper also, in the news channels also, the people who work behind, जो graphics आते हैं ना, मतलब ऐसा.
So video editor are different from graphics persons are different from editorial editor. I'm an editor myself.
Oh.
So you want to know how much we earn?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you think we earn?
Around 20-30K.
You are way underestimating, my friend. A lot more than that. It really depends on, all right, so I'll tell you what, it all depends on how good you are at your work. I have seen and I have employed people whose first salaries, and since I'm talking about people I've employed, so some of my students, I also teach a master's course in Jamia Millia Islamia, Masters of Convergent Journalism. So one of the students I really wanted to hire, and after she graduated, I hired her. Her first salary was, I think, about 75,000. First salary, which is what I paid her, because she was very good. So it'll all depend on how good you are, right? Somebody I know, when I was in scene, when I was working for this US media company, but we were working from home remotely, somebody I know started earning 1.5 lakh rupees a month from the very beginning, right? So now I'm not hoping to get your hopes very high. Starting salary, if you want to know what starting salary is, still 25,000 rupees, right? But that is the starting salary if you are getting employed in a respectable organization and you are being referred from somebody. And if you're very keen, because I was very keen. I'll be honest with you. How many mails do you think I've written to get my first job? Nothing less than 20. Nothing less than 20. The idea is you've got to be shameless, if that's the word. Just keep writing cold emails. Keep pursuing that teacher you think can get you the job. through their sources, through their contacts. That one internship that will change the course of things for you, because if you do well in that one internship, they will hire you, right? So those perhaps those changes, that pursuit has to come from you, from within.
Hi, ma'am. Just like you said that you teach masters, so is it beneficial to do masters after getting a bachelor degree?
If you can get a job without doing your masters, nothing like it.
Because I wanna get a job like on international media base, like travel media. So do you think it will be beneficial to
Not
do?
really, no. I have a double master's in journalism, hasn't been very helpful. I think I could have done the same thing with just my bachelor's. So a double degree may not necessarily be helpful, but if you really want to pursue and you are seriously academically inclined, it's not harmful. Right?
So do we have to do it in journalism only
No.
or MBA like?
So that will depend on what you want to do. If you want to, let's say, get into communications, you can do an MBA in communications. Right? So if you do not want to stick to doing hardcore written journalism, TV journalism, you don't necessarily have to have a master's degree. A lot of us don't have postgraduate degree. I happen to, a lot of my colleagues don't.
Thank you.
Any other question from anyone? No? Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for an amazing session. We feel enlightened, do we? Yes. So I would now like to request BVICAM ma'am to present a memento to Shweta ma'am as a token of thanks. Now we present Manzil, our quarterly magazine, and Bharti Times. Now I request everyone to come in the center for a group photograph with Shweta ma'am. Those who want selfie with ma'am can also come in the front.